Foxy's Tale, The True Story of a Champion Alaskan Sled Dog by Ed White and Donna Friedman, with illustrations by Charles Lindemuth. Foxy's Tale is the true story of an amazing sled dog born in the backyard of a Chugiak, Alaska dog musher. As the runt of the litter, the puppy Judy, her name at birth, was never envisioned to be a competitive sled dog and sold to an Anchorage family as a pet. Neither her size, a life-threatening accident, nor being stolen could deter this champion sled dog from eventually taking her rightful place on the Alaska sled dog trails. Foxy's Tale is a family story. Foxy's Tale is a love story. Foxy's Tale is Foxy's own story. Enjoy it as we have enjoyed Foxy. Ed White. Foxy's Tale, The True Story of a Champion Alaskan Sled Dog. Ed White and Donna Friedman. Illustrations by Charles Lindemuth. White House Publishing, State College, Pennsylvania. Dedicated to all the junior dog mushers and puppies that have or will in the future form that special bond that can only exist between a dog and a child on the runners of a sled. Acknowledgements. Michael Amaral. We will never be able to thank Michael enough for allowing us to have this extraordinary dog. Foxy has touched our lives in a way that's impossible to explain. Carter B. Without this special friend, we would not have been able to share Foxy's story. Sandy White. She has always been there for Kelly and me, but we never thanked her enough. This is my feeble attempt to do so. In the beginning, there were three sounds. The best one, the one to which I crept even before my eyes were open, was the sound of my mother's heartbeat. The second was the wild nighttime howl of the Alaskan wind. Some nights it sounded very angry. Other nights it sounded like a wild animal pounding against our house, trying to knock down the walls. The third sound, and the one most unforgettable, was the combined voices of the other dogs. On stormiest nights, their howls could be barely heard over the stronger, wilder voice of the wind. When the nights were calm, their howls rose in a chorus of ghostly sounds that made me shiver. My mother would lie very still in her bed of straw, curled protectively around her 6 puppies. Yet even while she cuddled and nudged us gently with her cool nose, she was always half listening to the howls of the wind and the other dogs. My brothers and sisters and I would feel her quivering as she wanted to leave us behind and take her place with them. We knew she loved us, but we also knew she wanted to be out on the trail again with Michael, our owner. She was a lead dog on his racing sled dog team. She was smart and very fast. My mother would tell us about the other dogs in the lot, how fast and strong they were, and how well they worked as a team. Sled dogs aren't like other dogs, she said. We're not pets. We work. We are the happiest when we are running in a team and pulling a sled. I listened, but I was still too young to understand. There were 12 other dogs in the dog lot in Michael's backyard. Each dog was tied to a pole in front of a little house. My mother, Michael called her Rosie, had a bigger house surrounded by a fence for her 6 puppies. Michael named me Judy and called the other puppies Lips, Everready, Stripes, Jake, and Bouncer. I liked belonging to Michael. He fed us special meals he cooked over a fire in the yard when the weather was nice, and in a shed when the weather was stormy. He mixed salmon, beaver, liver, and other kinds of meat with chunks of fat to keep us warm during the cold winter nights. He simmered the meal slowly until the rumbling of the hungry dogs' bellies was drowned out by our howls. Michael always had a few minutes to spend with each of us, calling us by name and roughhousing with us. Sometimes he called me Squirt, which my mother told me meant that I was little. I was the smallest puppy, but I didn't like the name. My mother kept telling me, "Be patient, Judy. You will grow someday." One day Michael opened the pen and let us out. The snow had melted and the green grass was beginning to poke through the mud in the yard. The warm air felt soft and mild, and our winter coats were falling out in clumps. Michael would play a game with us when he would let us out of the pen. He would walk way over to the other side of the yard and then call us to come to him. We would run very fast as we could to get to him. I was always the first puppy to get to Michael. He would pat me on the head and say, "Judy, you sure are a fast for a little one." That's when I started thinking that maybe being little wasn't so bad after all. One day Michael didn't let us out to play as he usually did. Instead, he spent the whole morning cleaning up the dog lot. Then he went into the house and got dressed in really fancy clothes instead of his usual boots and jeans. Soon cars started pulling into the yard. People walked around talking and eating things from a table that Michael had set up. One of the people, a little one with curly red hair, came over to our pen. She opened the door but didn't let us out. Instead, she came in and closed the door behind her. No person but Michael had ever been in our pen before, and we didn't know what to do. She smiled and clapped her hands, saying, "Come here, puppies." My brothers and sisters didn't move. My mother just sat there watching us. I ran over to the little girl, jumped on her. She laughed. Then the rest of the puppies ran over, and we all played with her for a long time. Much later, a man came over to the pen and said, "Come on, Kelly, it's time to go." The girl looked sad when she said, "Dad, please can I take one of the puppies home with me?" I got scared. What if she took me with her, away from my mother and the other dogs? The man she called Dad took his hand and said, "No, Kelly, we have to go home. Maybe we'll come back and play with the puppies some other time." I was glad she wasn't going to be taking me away, but I was also a little sad to see her go. I wondered if she would ever come back. We forgot about Kelly and Dad as the summer passed and the days got shorter and the leaves started turning red and gold. Michael took down the pen and built each of us a house. We spent much of our time tied to the poles just like the other dogs, but Michael would always still let us romp for a while every day. He also started taking my brothers and sisters out for training runs. They were still too young to be on a team, but he was teaching them how to work as a team. He would put them in little houses built on the back of his pickup truck, then drive away, leaving me standing there all alone. He wouldn't give me a chance to be a sled dog. One day Michael returned from a training run. Kelly and Dad came back in their truck. Michael turned to me and my brothers and sisters loose to play with Kelly. When she got tired and sat down to rest, I crawled onto her lap. I think that was my big mistake. She hugged me and said to Dad, "Can I have this one?" What a dumb kid, I thought. I'm Michael's dog. He would never let me go with her. Michael smiled at Kelly and said, "Okay, she's too small for my team anyway." He never took me with him. How did he know I was too small? I jumped out of Kelly's lap and ran over to my mother's house. Kelly came over and picked me up and carried me over to Dad's truck. I struggled and whimpered, looking back at my mother and the other dogs. I knew I would never see them again. I didn't even have time to say goodbye.